Hi, welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio and TV Podcast. #1 internet talk show in the country.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look
Okay.
at us.
And I'm Janice Wood, your host for a Senior Citizens Forum that's being sponsored by Benefits for You 2 Insurance Services, where they specialize in Medicare supplemental plans, Medicare Advantage plan, and Medicare prescription drug plans. They also will give you advice on health insurance plans. So at the end of our show, you will find information on how to contact us. But today I'm not talking about Medicare. Yay. I'm so happy about that. Okay. But I'm here with my friend, Elana, who also has her own show on WGSN-DB Going Solo, which is Know Your Health Vibe. Okay.
Your Health Vibes.
Your Health Vibes. Will you say it correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Your Health Vibes.
Your Health Vibe. And also, Elana she loves to work with senior citizens, make sure that they're exercising correctly, okay?
Yes.
And she also works with people with cancer and exercising to make sure that they stay mobile. But I just had a really good time talking with Elana a while back.
Yeah.
She called me up because this last summer I had knee replacement surgery, and then I found out that she injured herself. And we were talking about our life changing, okay? And what was happening in our lives because of having surgery and her having an injury. And your life does change.
Right. And just, what we take for granted is those little easy things, from even walking to the kitchen or picking up something or even sleeping with your cover hitting your injury. It's like the whole world's ending.
Well, for me, it was like, you mean I got to get up and go to the bathroom? Really?
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like something so simple like that.
Can I wait 15 more minutes so I don't have to go again later?
Yeah, how long can my bladder?
Yeah, how long can you hold it? Okay. I mean, and my attitude was like, I'm going to have surgery and I'm going to come home and I'm going to be just like I was before I went in. Wrong. And all of a sudden, I've had a lifestyle change.
And so with that, and having a lifestyle change of something that you didn't think unexpectedly, how is that making you feel right now with it all? You're normally used to exercising. You're normally used to go. How is this making you feel, having to kind of stop, slow down, and view things a little differently?
Well, at first, because I was in so much pain, I had no choice. Okay? I absolutely had no choice because there was no way. But I was very fortunate because my husband and Lauren, who works for me, okay, who's also been on our show in previous shows.
Fabulous. Give a shout out to Lauren.
Right, yeah, for Lauren. Between the two of them, I was weighted on hand and feet. I mean, you need your pillow this way, you need it this way. All of a sudden, the food would show up. All of a sudden, my medicine showed up. All of a sudden, everything was taken care of. The only thing they couldn't do for me was go to the bathroom, which was a major thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And having that support, I think a good thing to share and say is like having that circle, having that community to do, because a lot of times people don't have that, and the recovery could be different if you don't have that strong support system.
Community, right? And my sister-in-law, who lives in an area where she's all by herself. Okay, there's no one. She had 2 knee replacements. I remember calling. But not at the same time. Okay, but I remember calling her up and saying, "You are now my hero. How did you do this without any support?" Well, somebody had to go grocery shopping for her. there had to be some friends that helped her out.
Yes.
Because her children didn't live in the same state even, okay? So it was like, how did she do this, okay? Somebody had to help her cook.
Yeah.
I told her, you are my hero. Okay?
She would be my hero too.
Yeah.
I mean, as you think, like, that's a lot. A lot of times, if we don't have that, what would you do? How do you show up? And what I love is, she had no choice.
She had no choice.
And I think that's a great thing to talk about. What you were saying is, they didn't have a choice. So what do you do when you don't have a choice?
Absolutely. What do you do? And it's like, for surgery, you do have, I mean, there's some things that are a choice and something that knee replacement is a choice, okay?
Right.
All right? But there are some surgeries that are not a choice, and you have to have it, and you still have to have help.
Right.
So what do you do? And one of the things in looking up, I want to go back to the injury, that in a lifetime, it's just like, it's really crazy. In a lifetime, you can have over 9,000 injuries.
Wow. And we don't think about that. You know, you think in a lifetime, you think, oh, this or that, but that's a lot.
That is a lot, but I mean, I have taken and been cooking, and all of a sudden, I've sliced my finger, okay?
Yeah.
In cutting. You don't think about that as being an injury.
Right.
But you can have an injury, okay? And when I was looking up doing this show, I was really surprised to find out in the United States alone, over 8 million people have injuries every year. You were one of those people.
I definitely was one of those people, and I actually re-injured myself. So what's crazy about this injury is 2 years ago, I did the same type of injury on a trampoline and doing exercise and wanting to do. So with the years, so 2 years ago, the same time, same type of injury, and how to deal with it differently. But sometimes, is what you're saying, we can injure ourselves and not know.
Not know. Or it can be something minor.
Like a, like a paper cut.
Oh, like a paper cut. I mean, and those things hurt.
Yes, and they happen a lot.
And they happen a lot. Or they're minor things that happen that we don't think about. But some injuries, just like surgeries, can put you in bed.
Definitely, and put you out of what you're used to, or someone who, you know, like Janice and I, we get along so well of this because we're so active and we're in the community, and you know, we serve, and so it's hard because when we're in this injury and someone's telling you, you have to sit in bed, you have to do these things, it's our mind, our body, you know, our mind knows we can do it, but we have to take that time out.
Because like me, I'm going, oh my God, I can't get down on the floor. I can't get down on the floor. I'm not doing my abdominal exercises, okay?
Or walking around like yesterday, like walking around too. Or you know, could tell the story about that.
So I was telling Elena I was supposed to meet some people for lunch in a shopping center that I'm not familiar with. And my GPS took me to the wrong part of the mall. And this is a huge mall. Huge, okay? And I was like, it was almost a mile away from where we're supposed to be, where the GPS took me. So I figured out quickly that I was in the wrong spot, but I already did some walking. And then, okay, now I got to figure out where to go. I put the GPS back in. It sends me back to the same spot. And I went, no, this isn't going to work. So I finally went out of the mall and went into a different area looking for a department store that the people I called up and I said, I can't find you guys. And I don't walk well, right? And so they told me, okay, we're next to Bloomingdale's. And I go, okay, I'll find you, okay. So where's Bloomingdale's? I know where Bloomingdale's is from within the mall because I have shopped over there, okay. But to find it parking-wise and find the exact restaurant, oh my. So I got in the car and I get to valet parking and I went, because I'm an exercise person, I would never think of using valet parking.
No, because you're so used to it.
I'm going to use valet parking.
Which I'm proud because you listened to yourself and knew what you needed to do.
And so I get into the mall and I wasn't even close to where we're supposed to be. I had to go up up the escalator, and then I had to go
gosh.
walking down. But when you have a discomfort,
Yes.
that's the best way I can call it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're limping along, and it's getting worse. And everything else was going wrong. It's like, oh my God. So I finally found out what I wanted to do. Had my lunch with the group of people.
Yes.
It was actually a business lunch, okay, which I showed up 35 minutes late for.
But you showed up?
But I showed up, okay. And then I was getting myself back to where I was supposed to be.
Right.
And by the time I got into the car, I was like, oh my goodness. And I was so happy.
Yeah.
I left the guy a great tip. But you need to pay attention to what your body is telling you.
Right.
And
the challenges. Like, what was the challenge in that for you that you were used to and taking for granted? Oh, I normally could have done this.
Right. And because I am consider myself, and I say this all the time, a spoiled woman, okay? Since I've had the surgery between my husband and other friends and my assistant that I work with, okay? I'm totally spoiled. I'm not used to driving myself. If my husband's not doing it and Lauren's not doing it, I have another friend that comes to that. So I'm going, yesterday, I'm going to drive this on my own, okay? It was major.
But you didn't, and I think the challenges, and you didn't give up. So I think that's something that's good, between, it doesn't matter what age, it doesn't matter what, you're going through, the fact you showed up for yourself. Because in a challenge, sometimes we don't know how to show up for ourselves. And then we could just laugh at the situation, too, to make light of it.
But I made a major mistake, and this is where my major mistake is, because one of the people I was with said, Janice, let me take you back to your car. And me being, I'm going to be the proud person, I'm going to handle this on myself, said, no. I'm going, what a mistake that was.
So that's good, and we can acknowledge that, and I think to show that it's okay to accept that, and and think like, okay, I'm gonna let my, I do it too, our ego get out of the way, like, oh, I've exercised, oh, I can walk, I can do it, but we know we can do it when we're healthy, and so, and I think our minds, not necessarily like without our challenge of having.
But also, it's a pride thing too.
Correct.
I didn't want to admit to somebody that I'm doing business with, okay, I can't do this, okay.
So maybe as a lesson to do, if it happened again, where would you go different to show someone?
I would have said, okay, let's figure out how to get back to my car.
And I think accepting and having more grace for us, because I think I do this too. I'm like, Matt is like, you should be able to do this. You're an exercise person, like, and I think we put that pressure on ourselves because we want to show up, and I think this is what is the good thing is us being on this together is that we're authentic. We can say we did this different, and that's okay. We made a mistake. We showed up differently.
I learned from that mistake.
Yes.
I learned from that mistake because I should have accepted the help. And we're going to talk about more about accepting it, but this was a good lead in to go back to. We definitely should have accepted the help. And you were talking about people earlier trying to help you out.
And I think too, so what I've noticed is, I'm the type of person, and I think raised to manners and just how growing up, but holding open a door for someone, or doing nice things, and not doing them just because someone has a boot on or something. It's funny how many people want to help me with I'm wearing a boot or when I'm out, but when I'm not, how many doors will slam, how people will be rude or not acknowledge. And to me, sometimes it's funny. It's like, do I have to show how hurt I am that I can't verbalize, or people just can't be nice in general?
Well, people don't know. I mean, we're living in a different era.
Correct.
From when I was growing up, I was told that I'm going to go back to something basic. When I was dating, my parents said no honking and going out. They are to come to the door, okay? And I told my sons that too. No, you're not honking or expect some girl to come to your car. I expect you to go to the door and do the right thing of meeting the parents.
Right. And that's what my parents always said too, or like, guys are not going to come and, or they need to come and introduce. Something funny about that is when my parents started to date, my dad didn't open the car door one time or did something, and my mom stood there and waited till he opened up, and for that. So it's funny with different generations.
Different generations and how it's done. Now I'm really, as I said, I'm a spoiled woman.
Yeah.
I will go out with other couples, and my husband always opens up the door for me, and I'll go other couples. You never see them open up the door.
Yeah, I feel very blessed with my Tony. He's so good about opening the door. Also, even walking, he's kind of old-fashioned when we're walking.
Yeah,
he'll have me walk on the inside of the street to make sure
and
to protect. I mean,
those are hard to find nowadays.
They really are. We're lucky that we got some true gentlemen out there.
Yeah. So did Tony help you when you were with your injury?
So with my injury, he was helpful too, because he's been injured, so he knows. He did sports. He like so many things. So. And showing up for your partner. So sometimes I think with this, we need to say where we're at. Hey, today I got 20%. Where are you at? And them showing up too, and being able. So and I've been blessed with a really great support system too, from my parents to Tony to other friends who will, even in LA, will drive so far to show up for you, which means so much, because I think sometimes it's very hard with that to ask for help.
Yeah, and I've had where people make accommodations for me. So it's been real. I mean, it's been very nice, but it's like I don't want them to have to make accommodations for me.
Right.
It's really hard because I want to do it, because like you were saying, I've always been physically and mentally, I've been independent.
Yes, and that's what I love about you, is that your independence in it, you have always done it on your own, and I think that's hard. And for me too, it's like, show up. I teach my classes, I want to show up, how we show up for ourselves of things. So, but I think learning that grace of how to show up and how to ask for what we want.
But that asking for help will help you during your recuperation period.
Yes.
Okay? So what happens, you've got to drive to go to the doctor, you have to drive to go to physical therapy. So somebody helping you out and driving, not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing. And you know what? It is nice to be chauffeured around sometimes, because, I think also you and I, the way we would do this for anybody too. So I think where all of this is the way we show up for others, we would do the same thing. And so that sometimes that guilt of like, we don't want to ask, we don't want to do, because you don't want to put someone out, but you would do that for someone else, and you would show up for them the way it works both ways.
Right, absolutely. And people, if they offer, but also offering is one thing.
Yeah.
Okay, asking for help is another thing. And I was reading something earlier, and it was saying, there's two words that you can say, and it doesn't matter where you're, if you're at work or it's an injury or a surgery that we're talking about. You just say to somebody, I'm struggling, can you help me? And if you just say those two words, I'm struggling, people usually feel
that empathetic.
Like empathetic, that's the correct word for it. They're going to help you.
Right, and I think that exactly, it's the wording, and it's how you show up for someone too. It's like, and not to compare, or, I think we have to be sensitive to someone's needs, because we all heal differently and we all communicate. It's how you communicate. It's, if someone says like, oh, well, I had knee surgery and it's like, no.
Oh my God, I have a great story for that. Okay. All right. So everybody comes, you go out, you finally go out, and people come up to you, or you're talking to people, and this is always people that are not in physical good condition, okay?
Are the ones
and
that
they will
always
say,
the story.
well, I recuperated from that in 3 weeks. How come you're still having a problem? And I'm going, my head is going, you didn't recuperate from that in 3 weeks.
Exactly.
Okay? But each person is different.
Yes.
This is each person is unique. That's a word I want to use.
I love that you use that word, because we all are unique.
And what my health conditions are not the same.
Right.
Okay?
And you can't just judge, like, people look at, oh, you're healthy, or this or that. People, it's like, don't judge a book by its cover.
Right. And it was just like, Elena's father had the same surgery I had, and he went off to Europe. And I'm going, how'd he do that?
Right.
Then I saw him the other day, and I'm going, wait a second, you're not that far ahead of me.
Right.
But his health conditions are not the same as my health
Right.
conditions. So it's just,
And
don't
acknowledging
judge.
that. Yes,
and
don't
acknowledge.
judge.
Because people will say, well, you're in good shape. You work out. Why is you having a problem? When I'm not in good shape.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm going on about my business, and I'm going, what am I thinking? Well, you were in such pain before, you didn't realize how this is better than what you were. But for me,
that's where you're
there's
at.
different issues. That's
Yes.
where I'm at.
And I think accepting someone where they're at, because too, people are, you're young, you're going to recover, you're going to work out this, and it's like, no, maybe ask how my well-being is. How's your mental state?
How's your
People don't even realize like that. I think with this, to be honest, my mental state has been really messed with because you're stuck sometimes, and I felt like I want to serve, I want to give back, but when you're stuck in there, you start to go down that rabbit hole sometimes.
Well, it is.
It
is. How's it going to affect you?
Yes.
I mean, how am I going to get to places now? Because I'm in the Medicare world, okay, and I don't work for Medicare, and I don't work for Social Security, okay.
She does not.
I sort of say that, but because I represent private insurance companies, it's I went from having my surgery, having to prepare, so I'm going. Either I'm going to get out of the mental state that says I can't do this or I hurt too much, and just say I'm going to have to do this, okay?
Because
I have to prepare, okay? I didn't go to live training like I should, that it's really important to go to, but I still prepared myself.
Right, and I think that's a good thing is preparing ourselves, because sometimes we don't know how to, but if we prepare them mentally, it could help us out a little bit more that we know how to react in a situation.
Right.
I mean, respond instead of reacting, because, we have so much going on.
Well, I changed how I normally did things,
yeah.
okay? And I normally don't have people come into my home, but this year I had people come into my home because I just couldn't do the traveling. Okay, towards the end, I did do more traveling, okay? But I actually had people come to my home. And it was like, okay, I know this isn't what I want, but there's no way I'm going to get through it and meet my clients' needs.
Exactly, and I love that because here it is. You didn't make it necessarily about you, like a poor me, like I'm stuck here. You found a solution to the problem. You wanted to show up because you're showing up for your clients.
Right.
Because they needed you, even though you were dealing with something. So I think that's really a beautiful thing, and that's how with my clients, even though I'm hurting, you're still there to show up for them as well, because it's important.
Well, we're going to have a word from our sponsors. So this is WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, and we'll be back with you in just a few minutes.
Here at Benefits for You 2 Insurance Services, we believe knowledge is power when it comes to selecting the correct healthcare and Medicare insurance. Please contact us at healthcareoptions@benefitsforyou2.com or call us at 310-245-0332.
Hi, welcome back to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, and TV and podcast #1 internet talk show. And this is the Senior Citizens Forum, and I'm back with Elana, okay?
All right.
And we're going to continue talking about, asking for help, accepting help when it's being given to you. So, ready to get started?
Let's get started.
Recap, we talked about both Elana. I had surgery. Elana had an injury. She injured herself. Yep.
Actually working out on a hike.
On a hike. Oh, God, imagine. You had to have help getting out of that hike, didn't you?
Yeah, and so that was like, so it was one of those, I rolled my ankle. I had a wedding that night. We still had 2 miles left to go, and that's when the adrenaline, I kind of felt like, if anybody knows the old school movie of True Beverly Hills, when Velda gets lost in the wilderness and she hurts her ankle and she screams, and that's kind of what I saw. But I had to focus back and say what's going on. I had to reach, I pretty much popped up and just went on it, even though I probably was the worst thing and I probably injured myself more. But I was grateful that I did have support of my sister, and Tony was there, and they were willing to even pretty much carry what they could and support in that. But from then on, it was learning that night to ask for help, to share that I wasn't okay. I did need that extra support. And you really knew I was injured because I was not dancing. When this girl does not dance, you know you are in
right,
pain.
definitely,
You know?
yes.
So is there any instance, too, of also with this, you know, I think asking for help, being gracious and being thankful, because sometimes I think we assume like, well, I'm hurt, so someone's going to show up, or, you know, these things that are going on. But I think when people are taking the time to reach out, want to help, accepting the help, appreciating it,
Oh, yes.
and being gracious
A
about
simple thank you, because most of the time, the average person, okay, is not going to expect you to do it back for them,
Right.
because you don't know what circumstances
Right.
are constantly changing in people's lives, okay? I had an instance just recently, I'll talk about it, okay, where my son lives in another country, and he came back in for one of the holidays, and I could tell something was wrong, okay? And so he finally came out and he said, you know, my father's really ill, and because you guys are sick, because we've had that horrible COVID going around, okay, he can't be exposed to it. But once we got, you know, once he came, we were over the COVID, but not far enough out of it for his father to be exposed. So I offered to send him over a plate for the holiday that we were celebrating.
Which is the nicest thing out of kindness of her heart.
And what I got back was, I have food in my house. I don't need your food. And it was like, excuse me? I mean, I took it. I was insulted because I wasn't saying I was going grocery shopping for you, which I can ask for. You should, if you need help with that. But not in this instance. That's not what I was implying. Okay.
Not at all. And if you know you, like, that was like such a beautiful gesture, showing up for someone because you knew you put yourself in someone else's shoes, and that's what I love about you, is that you wanted someone to know, like, I'm here to help. It sucks where you're at, and I want to show up, and to have that type of response back, I would feel the same exact way.
And so I was insulted. So when you say to somebody who's offering to help you and you don't need it, you can say, thank you very much, but at this time I don't need it, but I'm going to remember that you offered, and I may need it later on.
Right.
Or something like that, because I really appreciate that you would do this, okay?
Right.
And, you know, I mean, people have the right. You can ask them for help, okay?
Yeah.
And they can say, I can't do it for you at this time, but I can do it for you at another time.
And to show, like, not to take that personally. Be proud of yourself that you asked for the help, and it's not a rejection, because sometimes I think when we are vulnerable, we have to show up and we ask for help, and then someone can't help at that exact moment or time needed. We take it personally, and then we don't continue to ask, oh no, like, am I a burden? Is this? And we need to realize they didn't ask if they didn't want to. So, and it was just unfortunate at the time. So again ask and show up.
Or maybe at the time for them, because you don't know what's going on in somebody else's life at the same time. Okay. So you can say something, because I had to ask a friend to drive me to the doctor because neither Lauren, who I was talking about earlier, or my husband Leon was available to take me to the doctor. So I called up another friend, and they were really nice to say, well, whatever I'm doing, I will reschedule it, okay, to get you there.
Which is so beautiful to have that community to show up.
So that's really good. But people are there for you, okay? But you have to know how to, one, ask, and two, you need to know how to accept.
Right, and I think that's something that we should kind of brief on a little bit more, is actually accepting it, and not being in our ego and in our, you know,
our pride.
And in our pride as well, because we want to show up. We have that pride of, I can do this. Like, it's such a simple task, but it's one of those simple tasks that it's okay to say, hey, I just need that extra help. Hey, can you show up for me here? And when someone does, be gracious and accept it.
And that's so important, okay? I know once this is all over with, probably at the beginning of the calendar year, I'm probably going to take everybody out.
Yeah, definitely.
To say, hey, I want to thank all you guys for all the extra stuff, okay?
Right.
That you've done for me during this period of time, because I really appreciate it. Yeah.
And I think, exactly. Just showing someone the appreciation, because we take things for granted, or, as what we said is sometimes we don't realize to say thank you or in a certain way of what it is. Now, with all this, for you, what made you want to, when you had to ask for help, or do you have any stories of any other stories of where you didn't want to, but you did, and because you did, it changed the whole situation?
Well, I think I'm going to go on a little different angle with it. I've become, I love the extra help.
Yeah.
Okay? I've learned I don't mind being pampered.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing to be pampered at the right point in time, okay? But it's like, for me, it's gaining back my own control of my life, okay? Because I have a husband that will control my whole life if he could.
Yeah.
That's just his personality. It's good that he's done all this stuff for me, but I remember sitting on the couch the other night because he would bring me my dinner. And, he didn't come bring me my dinner, and I was thinking, he's not bringing my dinner. And then I'm going, well, Janice, get up, and get off your butt. Get your own dinner. And 2 seconds later, there was my dinner. I mean, because you could take advantage of it, too.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say, too, is like sometimes we become comfortable with the help that
and
we're
I'm becoming very comfortable with it, okay? And it's like, wait a second, get up. I'll get up in the morning.
Yeah.
I have one medication that I have to take on an empty stomach. There he is at the side of the bed with my medication. It is like, wait a second. I need to get up out of this bed.
Right. And I think finding our independence again and knowing like we can come back to ourselves.
Coming
back to ourselves of knowing like, okay, I can get up, I can do all this, and you're grateful for the help. So when do you stop that help? Or when do you tell someone like, when is it enough? Sometimes?
Well, that's for me, it's like, he loves doing it. So I'm like, how long am I going to milk this situation, right? I mean, it's like crazy because I wear hearing aids, okay? So, and I'm really bad about putting them on. I forget to put them on. I get sidetracked into something else, okay? So this is how, my husband goes, oh, Janice, you got to put your hearing aids on. And then Lauren turns around and goes, I already handed them to her. Now, am I not spoiled? Yes, I am. Am I thankful for it? That's the key.
Yeah, see, I think the difference is sometimes when people get this, it changes who they are and their character, and then they expect that even after that.
Right.
But the thing about this is not your character. Like I think since you help so many people, this is a sign for the universe that it's your turn to get that help and accept it, and be able to do that too.
Yeah. So it's really funny. So it's like. So there's this point where I'm going to have to say very nicely, I think it's time for me to do it on my own. So like when I talked about earlier in the show, I talked about walking through. Okay. Normally either Lauren or Leon are going to take me to